My name is Tyler David, and you're watching Field of Dreams on ACTN.
Hey everybody, what time is it? It's Field of Dreams time, and I'm Steve David, your host. As usual, I'm riding with my Dream Team posse, usually, but today we have a couple who is off, and we also have a guest with us to help us take us through this whole dilemma. And we're going to talk about state of Trinidad and Tobago football. I'm going to introduce them, even though they don't need introduction. You guys know them, but let me introduce them anyway. To my left is Alvin Henderson. Alvin, welcome to the set.
Always a pleasure to be here and to talk about football.
And next to Alvin is Larry Joseph. Larry, welcome.
Thanks again, Steve. Always a pleasure.
And Nigel Hannibal. Nigel, our guest, welcome.
Thank you. Again, it's always a pleasure, as the gentleman said.
Okay, guys, we have real dilemma in TT football. And I am getting real concerned about the direction we're taking. And I want to start with the Martinique, the two games we played against Martinique, and how you guys feel about that, and what's our solutions going forward. So I would open it up. We do a Bible shop discussion, and let's take it from there. Alvin, I know you like to start, buddy.
Yes, the reason I'm starting is because I like to start from the preparation for the two Martinique games. And our preparation this time was a little bit different. Many people had been calling, including yourself, for us to see some of the local players in action, so that they will be given a chance to put their hands up to try and see if they could be on the team when the professionals from abroad come. And on this occasion, Dennis Lawrence was able to get an away game in St. Vincent. And he put in that squad a number of young locals who went to St. Vincent and played, some of them making their debut. Obviously, that we all know that show didn't go well, and we were beaten by St. Vincent 1-0 over there. And as a result of that, or I don't know if it was a result of that, but coming out of that, very few of our local players were able to get on the pitch at the start of the game against Martinique. When I saw it, I think for the first game, I think we had two locals, one of whom was the goalkeeper. And for the second game, I think we had the goalkeeper alone, who was locally based at the time. Now, we have to take into account the fact that local football is not being played at this time. So it puts the coach, Dennis Lawrence, in a dilemma of who he should choose to play the match. And he went with the foreign-based players.
Yeah, well, I did not see the first game that Trinidad played against Martinique away. So I can't really pronounce on the performance. The second game I was there in the stadium, and I know we'll drill down more into the game itself as we continue into the program. But needless to say, the two results, more so the one at home, was very, very disappointing. The performances in most parts for that game was disappointing, especially coming from a 2-0 lead playing at home in a absolutely must-win game for us. So I know we'll get into the technical aspects and the tactical aspects of it as we go further, but definitely not a good week for football for our senior team. And I think it coincides with what's happening at the administrative level in terms of trying to get the local game on its footing, at least to start. You know. So.
If I may interject, I want to go to something that Dr. Henderson said, Alvin. And I want to point out that I understand that while you take a local team because you thought maybe at the time you were going to play a lesser team and you would take the chance to go there with the local players because you felt you could have taken care of business with the local team. That has to be in the mind of the coach and other people around who is supporting his decision. But to go and have lost was, I think, still shameful because we do have supposedly better players here that people from that country comes here to play within our football to improve themselves and to get benefits from. However, I continue to say that right now, Dennis Lawrence is one of the longest standing coaches in terms of his duration as head coach in the country. And I want to know why there would be no, especially when there is no football going on, for you to say you're going to select what you see out there in the performances of those players, rather than to be holding sessions for developmental purposes from the talent that you wanted to select to be able to harness. I'm not sure that I'm right to say that he hadn't been coaching them and carrying out sessions repeatedly, but clearly any coach that is living in the country and have access to the local players must seek to build a national team around the local players to prove his worth as a coach developmentally for each individual and conceptually for the team. And then bring some key players who are outside doing well that you know doing well, not sitting on a bench on a team in a low league over there, slightly better than what we might have. So I continue to ask, where is the development component of our football? Where is that? And I think that is where the problem really lies, in that unwillingness or fear to go into and try to say, I have the courage and the knowledge enough to put these players out there, and then I could prove that because I will then go and bring those very foreign players that I am bringing back here to represent, to show them in a game where I'm putting the best, the probables against the possibles. And I'm going to prove that I know what I'm doing developmentally. I think that's the cause of all our problems at all levels.
I totally agree with you in that we should build our football team with what we have in this country, and then we can invite others to strengthen it. Because that's what we did back in, and I hate to go back in the day, but like everything we did back in the day was correct. Because today they're making it look like it's that they don't know what they're doing.
May I add to that? For myself personally, in 2002, when I was back here as a technical director and head coach, my aim was to try and do exactly what I've just said. And for these 7-8 months, that's what I was been doing. And have been working with those very players, telling them that I am for them. How foolish it would be of me for me to have you here working with you 3 and 4 times a week if I could, with some obstructions from 2 key teams at the time who were the professional stalwarts. Then to have a game to play and I will go abroad and bring 16 of them and then add 4. I want you to know that you have my back. I am picking you, and I'm going to be looking for 4 to 5. If it wasn't for the what do you call it, the anxieties that some of these younger men had, that they wanted to have their personal agendas be filled, and they walked out on the session, the last session before a game we were to play against Finland, and that caused the strike. This went on strike. And because of that, they didn't get a chance. And I told key players, I don't want to call names, why would you do something like that when you were on the brink of showing people that what we were doing was going to be good, and this was your platform. This was your platform to show the foreign players that they're not coming here to get this position. We will invite the 3 or 4 or 5 that we might think that deserve. And that was, I am speaking from what I tried to do myself. And that crashed the program. That idea of locals can do the job with the help of some of those who are on the outside.
Okay, let's talk about then. Let's go ahead and talk about the matinee game. And what did you see? And
Well, one of the things that coming out from what Hannibal is saying, which not all everything I totally agree with, but one of the things he's been saying is let's train the locals. And in training the locals, you will probably get a better defense of where one of the main problems in the games that we had was, that is defending against dead ball situations. Because all the goals that scored against us, including the one that in Martinique and the 2 here, were dead ball situations that were defended poorly. And the goal that eventually scored, which was an own goal, the first post, a ball to the first post, a header, and then came off the foot of one of our defenders and went into the goal. It was a situation that we were seeing actually from the first half. And Hannibal and I were discussing it. And we were talking from the first half that Trinidad was defending corners poorly. And we could see a possibility of a goal coming from there. That is an advantage of training locals regularly. Yes, that's an advantage. That's one of the advantages that you have. And another dead ball situation, a free kick that came into the box, that went another striker who hit it across and a defender scored. Again, a dead ball situation that scored. So one of the advantages of having your locals, which I don't always agree that it should be a locals mainly squad, one of the advantages is that dead ball situations, which put us down in this tournament here, in these recent 2 games, we would have been at an advantage there at this time.
Yeah, and the question or the argument of locals versus foreign base has been going on with us for quite a while, actually. And I think it will continue to be so while we have both. And I mean, this is no different to any international team. They have local players and foreign players, as the case may be. Ours is a little more exaggerated because of the fact that our standard of football is not that high, so that results become very, very important. And so there's always that debate and argument as to who we should go with most of the time. And the foreign bases usually win out because we believe they play in a higher level than the locals. In most cases, the competition they're playing in would be slightly higher than our local football. Presently, if we come to the present scenario in Trinidad, we have actually no football that's going on. Right? The Ascension League is in progress, but I'm not too sure if any of the people who play in that league actually are on the squad, the national squad, right? But presently, there aren't no locals. There's no local football playing, and we all know the story behind that. Get into the game itself, right? Broadly, I thought this is one of the few games I saw Trinidad actually create goal-scoring opportunities. In quite a lot of other games, in going back even to the Gold Cup, it was, I can't recall for any game we played where we created so many goal-scoring opportunities, right? And I was happy for that. We scored 2 goals out of those chances that we got, missed a few, which happens to any team, all right? Our problem has always been defensively in that we always seem to concede. I was in the stadium and I was sitting with my son and somebody else, and when we scored the second goal, the first thing I said to him is 2-0 is the worst lead to have in football. That's the first thing I said to him when we scored our second goal. We were all over Martinique. It never looked as if we would concede 2. But the first thing I said to him is 2-0 is the worst lead to have in football.
Okay, Larry, let me stick a pin there because I need to take a break. We'll be right back. Viewers, we'll be right back after a short break.
What he did perform is able to be replicated today if that is what you remember and what you're making a decision on. Plus, what they're coming back with is a changed person who might be having difficulty in the foreign country, in the team, with socially, whatever it is it might.
I thought tonight we started the game really well. We had a couple of chances that probably if we had kicked one, we would have put us in a better position. But as we expected, that Matthew would come out, they were going to throw a lot at us because we all understand tournament football. And I thought the goal that we gave her was a very soft goal. We could have done better on defending the corner. We panicked a bit, and in the end we had to come back from behind. Matthew took a little bit, we had to weather the storm a bit. We had to weather the
storm a bit and see it out. And the boys and them did absolutely remarkable to get us back into the game. So I was really, really pleased for the boys. Now it's all about recovery and getting home to make sure that we're ready for the second leg. Yeah, once you're playing away from home, you got to expect that the opposition, they're going to have the fans behind them and they're going to throw everything at you. Martinique started to grow in confidence once we let them off the hook after the first 15 minutes, as I said, because I thought we should have scored. And they grew in confidence and they started to take control of the game, and we had to try and weather the storm a little bit. It was disappointed that we conceded just before halftime. So as I said before, but look, I'm pleased with the boys at the effort that they gave in the end to come back and get something out of the game. I was pleased with our attacking movement. I think a lot of the boys physically, we looked a bit tired coming to the end, but as I said before, when you're playing away from home.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Larry, I put you on pause there for a minute. I'm going to release that pause button and let it go.
Right, and after the second goal, we saw a natural inclination from our players to slump deep into the defensive part of our field and start thinking about saving that 2-0 lead. I have no problem with that, right? But what happened after that 2-0 lead is that we started to see our lack of conditioning that we mentioned on this program. In some of our other games, we were seeing some fatigue starting to set in with our players, all right? I thought also a substitution change that was made by Dennis where he took Levi off at that interval, I disagreed with, because I thought Levi was putting Martinique defense under tremendous pressure coming from deep with his speed and his dribbling ability. And the Telfa guy on the other side was giving us the width doing the same thing. I thought taking Levi off kind of released some of the pressure we were putting on them. And needless to say, we conceded 2 goals from 2 dead ball situations. The second one, again, I made the observation before it was scored. When the ball went out, I mentioned again to the person next to me, we had 11 Trinidad and Tobago players in the 18-yard box, and yet we still conceded. I'll let the other commentators give their breakdown on the game.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Well, clearly, two intellectual views shared by the two gentlemen here. Precisely as they describe it, it did happen. I want to go back to make the point that when Dennis Laurent or any coach brings foreign players in, they remember the players' those players' last sets of performances. And based on that memory or recollection or previous performances, you have a thought in your head of that, and you're using that to make a 6-month later decision on bringing somebody back without, I don't know to what extent they investigate what is happening in the foreign leagues where these boys are playing. But you are getting back, for instance, a Bato coming in from playing where he is. How much of what Bato played, and this is not an indictment on Bato, I'm using the name because it's come to mind. What he did perform is able to be replicated today if that is what you remember and what you're making your decision on. Plus, what they're coming back with is a changed person who might be having difficulty in the foreign country, in the team, with socially, whatever it is that might be going on, that when you arrive now with the same person who you are not the same person to be what it is to continue where you left off. I continue to have a problem with that. Then I also say, tactically, I have questions. Every coach have their preferences, and we could argue all day long. I don't think, because we're going back to the corners, that we should not have post players. That's a fact. I also think that the blind side, the alley-oop part of the game, must be the attention of the defenders. I think tactically we are not as astute, and this is something that's even happening in the Premier League in the larger leagues in the globe, where people are not understanding and attentive daily to defending the goal from the ball and the man, meaning who is on my blind side, I must keep my eyes on. That has to be a constant instruction for people to understand that the ball by itself is not the danger, but the man who is coming where you are not looking. I don't think we are diligent, and I still feel that I go back to say that any coach that is living in the country and not working constantly with the local players, then he is removing his ability to pick key players who will show real loyalty to him and do more die-hard things on the field rather than somebody who comes in 3 and 4 days before a game. We need to have some discipline from the administration down about what we're doing when you are here, about training those players, especially when they don't have a football league that is operational. We have to understand that those players who went away to get a contract were here locally. What were they selected on? Merit. Well, these players have to have that chance for their merit too. And then we should find a way to keep them by having a good league so that we are keep exporting and re-importing back for each game that comes. Something structurally about the entire TNTFA operation, and not anything on the current one, but all before, is not right. Is not right. And if you want a solution that is long-term, it has to go back there and grind it through to have that be established for us to have continuity at a level keeping it. Because all the other teams in CONCACAF have those who are in the top there have good local leagues. And most of the players come from within their league. And they import the best that are now in the bigger leagues abroad.
Okay, I would ask you for a solution at the end of this program, so keep that in mind. Hold a thought. Alvin, what do you think?
Specifically about the Martinique game, we have spoken about this so many times, it's unbelievable. If we had a pure finisher on Trinidad and Tobago's team, we would all be smiling because the score would be easily 5-2 or 5-3 or whatever. Because the number of gilt-edged chances, though that's the way I would like to describe them, gilt-edged chances that I saw there the other night, there was no right that score should have only been 2. And if you call yourself an international forward, those things should have been buried in the back of the net. But there were several chances that, as I said, gilt-edged chances that went a-begging, and chances at international level are few and far between. You know that. You've played at the highest level, so you know. And we should have had those chances put away. Yes, we brought in some new players who we are looking at, and even Telfer in his second game gave us a goal-scoring performance. But there were others there who I felt did us a little bit of a disservice by not putting away the chances that we had. So that's problem, in my opinion, number one about the team. The other thing about our team that we have talked about a good bit is how do we manage a game when we are 2-0 on top? How do we manage the game? And one of the ways that you manage a game when you're 2-0 on top, even if you fall back to try and defend the 2-0, one of the ways that you manage the game is that you keep possession, ball retention, and movement of the ball when in possession. And we as a team constantly over and over are unable to retain possession of this ball for any length of time.
Larry, not to jump here.
No, you go ahead, Anibal.
Thank you.
You are our guest today.
treat me nicely.
You the guest. They want you. They want to hear from you.
I have some little leverage. All right, I can
Okay.
squeeze in. Piggybacking on what Alvin is saying, I also want to make two quick points statistically and then expand on it by saying something about transition football. I read something about 2 goals that we have scored in that game is the largest lead we have had, or the amount of goals we have scored in a game in a expansive amount of years. Yeah. So 2 goals. We couldn't even score against St. Kitts. But also,
St. Vincent.
St. Vincent. Also, we have been the team that is supposed to be tottering on entering the top tier in the CONCACAF, but we deservingly don't belong there, and we are in the second tier. And I'm not sure we are on the top of the second tier. But we have shown that to be why, because we are also never youth level, and if you look back and you go and see it, we have not only been unable to score, but we have been also a doormat team in terms of how much we concede. All age group levels. So what is happening defensively, in my mind, something is not being done right either in the selection and or the preparation of the players conceptually, how to play together in defense, to keep shape, to keep organized under pressure, to recognize a change of play, and that's where I'm coming to the transition aspect, that is breaking down, and therefore let us reassemble our defense forces to be able to cope with what we see is coming, especially if you already assess that that team is a good attacking team. And then to move from having great opportunities, which is correct, we blew a lot of chances to score in that last game, to blow that and not transition back to be able to, because you could see the Martinique playing from the Gold Cup and Martinique playing here, you could see the team is a better oiled machine than we were in both aspects of the game, and especially in playing not very quick transition, but playing smart transition. There's an explosiveness that you should have going forward, especially if you could get a good counter-attack going. But there's also, they had a nice feeling of synergy between attack and defense. And we had decent attacking moments, but it didn't seem to have a long-term threat on us because our team didn't give it the support it needed in the behind of the fast-running forwards that we had, who got up there almost empty-handed or scarce enough that if we had a next person, we could have maintained it and maybe capitalized and scored the 3, 4, 5, as Alvin said we should have scored. Something about the game strategically and tactically needs to be added to, and that's why I keep coming back to, are we developing the players where they could stand on any team, anywhere in the globe, and somebody say, that fella could play and could exist in any system, in any culture, basically.
So you think our solution should be what? Development of
Clearly, Steve, gentlemen, clearly. I mean, these are good minds. Larry know me. I have been in charge of him over a short period. Excellent thinking person. I think I saw something with Dada Didon, who's coaching Trendsetters, hardworking, really, really sincere coach of the game, if I may say so. Talking about the importance of schooling and education, adding back and complementing the intellectual capacities of our players. We have to understand something. We have talent, but talent doesn't bring it together. Doesn't add up to what you really need to beat the teams that have talent and grit and heart and structure and discipline. And therefore, if we are to play Haiti or we are to play Jamaica, we are going to run into serious problems. Why is that so? I think that because they are more disciplined. I think they're more patriotic. I think they listen well. I'm not sure about the educational path to where they are, but we need to put education and put a sense of good reasoning back into it by having students be students first in the college environment and then athletes, but piggybacking it, and the best that you could, by the time they graduate, they became the best student athlete or athlete student, as now they're entering into the higher level of football or sport or into academics with football or sport being part of it. Something has to be done to keep our holistic understanding of the bigger picture of the game that occurs in life, that you could see it in the game and smile because you could you could use each to help you in and off the field.
All right, we're going to go for a break. But before we go for a break, I want you guys to think about this. If you were the head honcho in charge of Trinidad football, what would be your key person or thing to do to turn things around? What would be the root cause of the problem and how you're going to solve it? Viewers, we'll be right back.
And as a result, if he has to concentrate on results to keep his job, his assistants, and I must give credit for, because I've seen it recently implemented, I don't know if it's because of things that we've said on this program, where his assistant coaches.
I think we're going to have to assess the group. We're going to see what physical condition we get back in Trinidad, and then we make decisions from there.
Are there some players going to leave the group?
We need to assess them, as I said. We need to make sure that we're injury free, and we'll assess the group, and when we get back home, we'll make a decision on that. Thank you.
Well, firstly, I want to say congratulations to the boys. We had a plan not to lose the game, and I think we got the job done. I think we could have done a bit better offensively and defensively, but in the end, that's how it goes sometimes, but happy with the result tonight.
Can we say that it was a luck because of this penalty shot?
I don't think football is luck. I think you get what you work for, and at the end of the day, the penalty came from hard work, you know, and for me that's football. We even had a lot of chances, I think 4 or 5 chances in the first half, and I think if we took those chances, the game would be different. So to say it's luck, I wouldn't say it's luck.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Okay, guys, I want to know the root cause and what's the solution. Don't all speak at the same time.
We're giving Larry a chance to speak because he hasn't spoken for a while.
Well, the short answer for me, if I was in charge of local football here, would be...
As president?
Well, whatever the position, if it's called president or captain or Castro, whatever it's called, you know. I would take a long-term outlook for our local football, meaning I would deliberately have a very long-term plan in place. I would not be afraid to forego positive results in the short term so that our football would be in a better place going forward over the long term. That is a very broad-based sentence. What I really want to drill down out of that is because of our present scenario where we want instant success, and I understand the pressures that are being brought to bear on federation because the FIFA rankings and all of that plays an important part. So it's really difficult to divorce these aspects of football because it's a global village in terms of football. And whether we like it or not, in order for us to participate and be involved, we have to do, and we also have to partake in certain aspects of that. But locally, because of where we are at, I am seeing where even in spite of those things I've just mentioned, we are foregoing proper development of our players, and we are reaping the rewards of that in our results at the senior, well, not just the senior level, but at all group level, age group, going up to the senior team. You know, so I would not be afraid to take the hard decision and listen. Those obligatory tournaments that we have to participate in because of FIFA regulations, we will, right? But my long-term goal will be to ensure that our development puts us in a position that we will be able to compete successfully at all the age groups up to the seniors going forward over a medium to long-term plan. I don't just want to participate for participating's sake. And then you have these embarrassing results that really does not augur well for the development because the development part is being ignored. And so you will end up in a situation you will always keep repeating the same mistakes over and over, hoping for a 2006 scenario where we will qualify for the World Cup. But actually that qualification for the 2006 World Cup has worked against us because our football has gone backwards since then. So that's basically what I would do here.
Well, I'm dovetailing a little bit of Larry's contribution because I too believe that the key element right now is prioritizing what is important in your football. And the biggest problem I think that we're having right now is that there continues to be no serious development going on at the lower level. So, and that problem is being translated all the way up to the senior level. So how do I solve that? In an atmosphere where there is little money or large sums of money owed that I will have to fork out the creditors as soon as it arrives, the first thing I would do is put a proper technical committee back in place so they could help me analyze specifically where the problem is and how we go about the problem in a strategic way with proper technical development. And who is going to carry out this technical development? For me, as Hannibal has said, it has to come all the way from the top, going down to the bottom, meaning that the head coach of any country must know what kind of system that he would like to develop long term. He wants to be there long term. So the players that he wants to get must be players that he's developing on a long term basis. And as a result, if he has to concentrate on results to keep his job, his assistants, and I must give credit for, because I've seen it recently implemented, I don't know if it's because of things that we've said on this program, where his assistant coaches are now coaching some of those development teams. I think it happened per chance because of money issues. But that is what I wanted to see, that the assistant coaches of the senior national team are now helping in the development of under 15 teams and under 17 teams. The problem is it's not a continuous long-term process. It's been interrupted too much, and we need a continuous long-term process so that the under 15s are handed over to the under 17 coach, the under 17s are handed over to under 20 coach. We then have to make a decision about our under 23, may not be a priority at the moment because of funds, but into the senior team. And so we have one major idea traversing all the group of coaches with a sound technical team that is analyzing as we go along and making strategic adjustments.
Clearly, comments are all taken, and in their sound messages for us to implement. I firmly believe that bringing a technical committee back in place is a very important part of it. But I will say if you keep bringing back the same members of the previous technical committee, then you are not bringing any new and fresh ideas, and therefore you're going back to the same old, same old. I'm 65 years old. My football was here in the 60s through the 80s, as a player and as a coach, into the 90s and into 2000s. I've been very active on the outside, administratively and also in coaching. I feel that what we should be seeing in technical committee is not only men of the mind of the game, but men of the mind of what makes an organization work administratively, presidentially, in terms of the big picture, beyond the things that I have to leave for my coaches, where they will come in and you have to choose the right coaches, pay them the right money, get the commitments, set them up so there's no betrayal feeling, and therefore you'll have a more of a demanding ability to demand of them performance. Everybody needs to be made responsible for it. There are few people in the world, Steve, that you could get to do something for you as a volunteer equal to if you were paying him. That comes down to the integrity of a person who is saying, I can deliver to you because I am committing to you with or without pay, for whatever reason, because my word is my bond. But pay in today's world, with things the way they are, have to be there to bring the right people in. A committee who can garner the financial resources, the long-term picture, with no corruptive measures inside of it, a sincerely, ethically resounding set of people, even if they have to go through the ethics committee of a kind that you inspect these people to see you're not bringing these kind of black spots, so sorry for using that, these bad spots to bring in to the picture, so that we select the right people. And you get people with a sense of administrative understanding to be able to implement a business plan. So the business minds, what do you call a marketing plan to be able to push this program, and then a technical plan to be able to have the right men, choose the right coaches, and assemble a plan. I had been on a particular, not exactly committee, but brought in for ideas from the days, and I may say this very humbly, from the days when the US were thinking of having their first World Cup. And I was brought in to discuss things. I was living in Colorado, then I was sent to Detroit, and just questions. I wasn't a key player, but I was an idea sharer. They want to get people who were being able to say, what will be able to make this thing work? And then they have the brains of assemble something, and then from there they're going forward. Why is the US doing what they're doing? They have the money, we don't have the money, or we have the money and we're using it badly. Why are they doing? They fire the people who are not performing, and they will bring in the people who are promising based on things that they have shown to be able to do in the different areas that are necessary. This is not a football league. This is a culture. This is also a crime prevention operation that we must have people of ideas from within the Ministry of National Security and everything else, where you could get ideas on how we could take people off the streets. Some of the best people that could play are some of the people who are causing the most problems outside, that had a talent that we didn't harness. To go back to say that I consider myself a friend of Stuart Charles. I consider myself a friend of the president. But I say, over 2.5 to 3 years with these young boys that we put out there, that's a fairly good, decent time to spend with the team. And we did not get the results. Did we put the right ingredients in there to get this team ready? Did we have the right coaching staff to be able to get the right ingredients identified within the people that they have selected? Are we making the best collective choices? Are we bringing friends into the picture that are just supporting what I view, and therefore we have 5 people with one view? This is a serious thing. This is raising your children. And you don't raise your children without inspecting every step that you make investment-wise as to what you could predict, and keeping predictions by calculating the things that you are seeing coming back from reports with all the association, to be able to say, I think this child is going to make it here, and this child is, and this is our sickest child, and therefore that's where my attention needs to be. This is, I don't know how to say it, this is a serious problem. And I think even the Prime Minister should be involved in not in any decision making, but in garnering support and giving an endorsement in every possible way to solve the problems that we have in the country from the ground up, the right way. Our youth must be given that hope. Our elderly must be smiling because they see the hope we give in the youth. They're leaving, and they're sad. You don't know what they don't know. And the elderly knows a little bit more than you and I know, those who are older than us. I say that this thing is as big as possible, and the fish is rot at the head, the worst and the fastest. And I am saying to David John Williams, please, I believe you have the capacity to lead, and I think he should be able to assemble the right people under him with his business background to get those people to come in, and no connections to the football. Some of them don't have to have it. They just need to bring the brain that is making their operation work where they are, and letting there be an injection of ideas that we never had before.
Okay, well said. Let's take a break. Viewers, we'll be right back.
And in a third world mentality as ours, we still believe that foreign is better than local. You can't get away from that. We are third world, colonialized, cultural people who believes that everything that is outside is better than local. So we will.
Well, it was a bit difficult. I mean, to control the game for 90 minutes is always difficult. I think we could have managed the game better in terms of, we were controlling the game. And when we lose control, we should have a bit more shape. And I think we lost a lot of shape in the team. And I think our confidence went away as we missed more and more chances. But at that point in time, I think the only objective was to stay strong defensively. Unfortunately, we conceded a goal. But that's football. You get your chances, you don't take them, and you concede one.
Now it's the victory back home.
Definitely. Back home, we're going to be going for 3 points and nothing else.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. So, guys, we've said and we've heard, and it's like a circle. We talked about we need a professional league, but yet still we taking players and sending them all over the place that's not even developed yet. So what's the use of a professional league? And then we're talking about the administration thing, and it looks like our administration concentration is on the home of football and not about our football. I've got to say these things because there's so many things that's out there that's preventing us from moving forward. We got a coach that's supposed to be managing our football, and this last game didn't manage it properly. And so we letting too many people off the hook. So I think, and I don't know how you guys feel, it's time to be guys, enough is enough. If you can't do the job, step down, let somebody else do it. And if our players are moving out too quickly, why are we bringing them back? And they're sitting on benches as weaker teams. Why are we bringing them back? Why don't we use our locals? I say this because I benefited from a team that was developed locally with 3 professionals from the outside that went and did excellent. And then I got my opportunity to go out. Mm-hmm. So same for the players here. Maybe that is what's going to keep them here if we have a national team that's built around, the core is built around local football. It's like an oxymoron. We have to have this. And when we do, we don't use it. So I'm going to open it up for you guys to beat me up on this one or say what you have to say.
Steve, I don't know how many times I've said this, but a lot of what you are saying that applied years ago no longer applies.
Right.
And for instance, it was much, much tougher to get a professional contract abroad.
That's right.
Than it is in this day and age. Because I am seeing the quality of player who is getting a contract abroad, and a contract abroad where he can he can help his family. So should he not go abroad when he's being paid certain sums of money where he can have a lifestyle that can help his family? There are at least 40 players abroad right now playing in leagues abroad. Majority of them have come from Trinidad and Tobago. A large number of them have played in our highest level of football in Trinidad and Tobago. Some of them have gone through the college system in abroad. But what I'm saying is, these players get a contract much easier now. Players of any decent quality, from the time they hit in the early 20s, Narada and his crew are signing them up to contracts abroad, and as a result, they have gone abroad. So as a result of that, our best football product they're playing in leagues abroad. And so it's a natural tendency for any coach, especially if we don't have a properly functioning professional league. The natural tendency is, I am going to be judged on results. Let me get professionals from abroad who are going to try and help me get results in the short term so that I could keep my job.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost certain if we were to go back to some previous shows, what the doc has just said has already been said in previous shows. Steve, it is difficult to compare your time to the present time. Very, very difficult. I mean, if I was to use purely one area, and that would be the talent aspect of it. In your days, the talent level, the quality of the players in your days was of a very high standard. So much so that you looked around at the results of the national team back in your days, and our results at the national team level was outstanding against very good oppositions in those days. Teams that right now, our present national team, cannot even have an interview to play them because of the fact that our football has dropped so badly. So it's difficult to bring some of your things from in your time to the present time, simply because of even the level of footballers that we have right now. As the doc said, I mean, we have some players locally who are playing in leagues abroad, some in some countries that some people have to Google to know where they are. But from the time they jump on a plane and leave and they cross waters, they are considered overseas based, right? And quite rightly so, in terms of the national team as the coach. If you were to select a team to play in a competition where results are absolutely important, with your local football in total disarray, who are you going to select? You are going to select the players who are playing in nondescript leagues, but they are playing. And in a third world mentality as ours, we still believe that foreign is better than local. You can't get away from that. We are third world, colonialized, cultural people who believes that everything that is outside is better than local. So we will go that. So it's difficult to bring some of your scenarios into the present, unfortunately. But there are some things that we can, and because of time constraints, I wouldn't go into it further than what I've just said. But it's difficult. There's no quick fix to it. As Hannibal mentioned, there has to be an administrative input to go forward in terms of a long-term plan. But I will leave the remaining time for
I want to jump
else.
in. Thank you. I want to jump in. I want to make 3 quick points. You spoke about the home of football. I say, let me do a little reversal here. What about football at home? So we're coming back to what we're doing here. So David John Williams, I'm coming to see the building. I want to see it clearly. I think it's an excellent display, and it's in the right place, hopefully at the right time. But that's the home of football. I want to know about football at home. That's a discussion for you. Second thing, Mr. Dennis Lawrence, I hope you won't be thin-skinned with the comment I'm going to be making here. But you always seem to be attacked when somebody is speaking about the football and you take it very personally. I'm going to tell you something. I think it's time for you to step down and do the right thing, because the results have been, I would say, very paltry. If you need me to sit and show it to you, I will do that. There's no more sugarcoating on it as well. I say for the SSFL, we should be looking at that league as the premier league to concentrate our best coaches, because that is where the student-athlete factor is going to be bringing about the best players who could listen to any coach and understand what he's exactly saying and what is implicit, what is between the lines, what are between the lines. We need to get ourselves back to the point and get ourselves even further ahead because of how the game has become and how the media is around the world that has made life difficult and different for them, even though it's more opportunistic because they're getting more chances than your day and my day, Steve. So I'm thinking that clearly, three things: the home of football. What about the football at home? Dennis, meet with me. I will help you out to tender your resignation. And the SSFL, I think we have to mandate that nobody comes in there and corrupt that, and leave it, and let's get the best coaches go in there to hand the selected best coach that we want for the national team, as well as a technical director who is paid and respected for the position, in a committee that was formed by the revised committee to give advice and direction to the long term of the country, bringing in the ministry and the government to be involved in a concerning manner for the future of our people.
Okay. Any pardon? We have 1 minute. Anybody has anything left to say on this subject? It's all about me then. Yes?
Yes, I think you.
Okay. Again, our football is going nowhere. We just chasing our tails around. Somewhere we have to stop and say enough is enough and do the right thing. And everybody knows it should be all about football and not about individual or egos or whatever it is. So, having said that, I want to say thank you to the viewers for tuning in every Monday night, and we do repeat on a Tuesday. Thank ACTN for the opportunity to bring it to you, the viewers. Guys on the panel, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And I'd like to see you back very soon. We do have a Facebook page. You can always go there and check us out. And we do have an email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. The show is ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David. Good night.